What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise Postgame Show, powered by BetUS. Today, the Portland Trail Blazers lose once again to the Los Angeles Lakers 107-98. The Lakers, playing without LeBron James and Austin Reeves, have no issues dismantling the Blazers. And this final score looks a little closer than it was down the stretch after the Lakers just ran away with this game behind a hot scoring night from Anthony Davis and D'Angelo Russell, who is making a case to be reinserted back into the starting lineup. 30 from Anthony Davis, 28 from Russell with 14 assists. And not a good day for the Blazers, man. The offense struggles to get going. Jeremy Grant makes a case that the Lakers shouldn't give up anything for him. Rui Hachimura thoroughly outplays him. And, at least they held a team to a respectable number of points. But the Blazers offense was abysmal. 17 turnovers, 25% from behind the three-point line. Today we have call-ins. We'll take your calls. If you want to call into the show, make sure you join our Discord, link in the description box below, and we'll have an announcement later in the stream. Eric, that's a pretty nice cup. How's it going?
Oh, just great, Tori. Just real fun to watch this Blazer team play basketball once again. Just a joy.
So you know what people say, man, they it's a single-digit loss, Eric. It's a single-digit loss, so it could be much, much worse, right?
Yeah, I think we're down by 22 with 2.5 minutes left when the bench is cleared, though. So them trying to get Bronny a bucket in the last few minutes let us cut the lead down to a respectable amount. But this was, regardless of what the score says, this was a 20-point loss, pretty much.
Yeah, this was a brutal loss. I mean, the Blazers cut it close too at the end of the third quarter as Scoot Henderson hits a half-court shot. The Blazers cut it as close as 76-73, and after that, it was all Lakers, man. I don't know what the final tally on their run was, but yeah, the closest was actually 79-76. And then the Lakers got up 107-87. I'm just kind of scrolling through the box score here. That's a pretty big run, man. That's a pretty big run in the fourth quarter. The Blazers offense really struggled to get going. They only had 5 points through the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. They only had 7 minutes halfway through the fourth quarter, and it was some good Laker defense. You had Rui Hachimura blocking a shot there. You had Anthony Davis. He blocked a ton of shots in this game. But, man, I mean, it's just ugly offense, poor shooting. Nobody seems to be able to get going. You had Shaedon Sharpe have a decent first half, but it just seems like Shaedon can't get anything going in the second half lately. He finished with 19, 7 for 15 shooting, 2 for 6 from the three-point line, 3 assists, 3 turnovers. So solid game from him. But, man, you just look at guys like Jeremy Grant, 1 for 12, Eric. And I think that's going to be the theme of this postgame show, because every postgame show we have a theme. We have a main topic to talk about. And we're playing the team that the Blazers supposedly had trade talks about Jeremy Grant with this past offseason, and Jeremy Grant did not make a good case for himself and his trade value. 1 for 12 from the field is disgusting. In 32 minutes, he had 3 points, and his play has just fallen off a cliff, man, and we keep talking about trade value for some of these veterans, and I'm really starting to worry that Jeremy Grant is playing his way out of having any trade value on that contract.
Yeah, I really hope that isn't the case. You got to believe that the Lakers just were like, okay, that's obviously a bad shooting game, and but he's going to shoot better than that when he's with us, right?
I don't see why they'd want to give up Rui for him, man.
No, I know. They're not giving up
It's not
Rui
looking good in that regard.
No, not at all. Although, I mean, Rui played well tonight, but overall, he's had some rough times as well this season. But yeah, man, it's crazy because right now my feelings are I'm finally there. I think we should trade Anthony. I think we should trade DeAndre.
Whoa.
I think we should trade Jeremy. It's just something's wrong there. I think those guys need to go. I'm not blaming them for what's happening this season necessarily. I think it's squarely on Chauncey, and I want to do say something about Chauncey in a minute, but um, I think Ant needs a change of scenery, man. He just does not look right this season, and Jeremy and Aiton obviously need to go as well. But all three of them, I think. I mean, what's the point of keeping any of them past this season anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean that's where I've been at, especially for Aiton and Grant. I'm just surprised that you tossed Anthony's name in there because you've been a
Well,
big Anthony proponent, and
I mean, he's obviously not this bad as he's played this year. I mean, it's just not. He's just not this bad. But like, I feel like it just at this point, it's not going to work for him here in Portland. The team obviously in the offseason, we're hoping that Scoot and Shea took over as the backcourt and all that kind of stuff. So um, I yeah, I feel like it's good for both parties to just move on from all three of those guys.
yeah, I mean, as far as Anthony Simons goes, he has a lot of pressure trying to be the replacement for Dame, and you can bet believe that he feels that. He is trying to live up to the what Damian Lillard left here in Portland for him. Dame said he's next up, man, and when Anthony missed those games, it was an illness, is what it was described as, but it was more so struggling with anxiety and anxiety attack, and he's putting too much pressure on himself here in Portland. Also, the system isn't doing him any favors, and it's just all wrong here for him. He is a better player, but he's not a number one on this offense. He has to be a number one, and he struggles because of it. And I hinted at stuff this past offseason. I hinted at his media day quotes where he said he wanted to play for a winner, and I hinted that Joe Cronin's comments about building around Sharp and Scoot and excluding Anthony Simons during the offseason, those comments weren't by accident. And this is the result, is Anthony Simons doesn't look like Anthony Simons. And I've, come around to a change of scenery is probably best. The biggest problem is Anthony Simons probably doesn't have enough trade value to justify it. Mm-hmm. And at what point do you just say, man, we really need to switch things up. He really needs a change of scenery. We would trade him for second round picks and expiring, because that may be the fallout out of all of this, and that's a pretty bad scenario to trade somebody that does have talent for that low of a package. But it just feels like the Blazers are trending towards not getting value back for their veterans, and a big part of it is because of their play this season. Anthony Simons' play this season, I don't think he had much trade value this past offseason. I think that's why he's still here. But then also DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant, especially. Jeremy Grant's play has fallen off a cliff, and I think the further we go along, the further teams may hold this season against Jeremy Grant, because it does not look like Jeremy Grant. He is on the other side of 30, and how many times can he come out here and have nights like tonight where he just doesn't contribute at all? His value is in him as a scorer, but his scoring just, it does not look the same, man. It does not look the same at all. And people will say, oh, yeah, he's going through the motions playing for a rebuilding team, but he's trying to score. He shoots a lot of shots that he probably should not shoot. And yeah, maybe he'd rein it back a little bit playing for a team, but teams don't like to give up legitimate value for a guy making $30 million that you have to ignore their whole body of work from the season they're trading them for. Jeremy's been bad this year, and I just do not see how the Blazers are going to get close to what they wanted this past offseason. The rumor was they wanted 2 first-round picks of Rui Hachimura. I don't know, man. Based on tonight's game, you couldn't even get Rui Hachimura. So, don't really know where it's going. Don't really know where it's headed. It's just starting to really feel like the fallout out of the veteran core that the Blazers have, the 2 timelines thing that they're doing. The fallout is they're not going to get much back, and it's still a good thing to move on from these guys, so you can really hammer home that rebuilding timeline, the young players you have on the roster, give them as much opportunity as possible. But until then, it's going to be a lot more rough nights like tonight.
Yeah, I still think you convince teams that even Jeremy's 30. It's not like they're like age-wise should be falling off a cliff. Both Aiton and Anthony are still like what 26 or something. Like there's no way that they're declining because of age. So you can maybe convince them they're just in a horrible position. You can talk to other teams about how the coaching isn't really doing anything for them, try to convince them that they're trying their best in a crappy situation and they're trying to move on from them because they're trying to bottom out or whatever, not
Yeah.
necessarily because they're bad players. So you just gotta, and I do think, I mean, we talk a lot about small sample size in one game, so obviously like one game shouldn't influence this. Unfortunately, it is against a team that has contracts to trade back for a lot of these guys. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I do think like the career arcs of at least two, at least Jeremy and Anthony, do outweigh a little bit of them struggling to start a season.
But here's the problem. It's always a problem when you have to convince a team of too many things in order to get what you feel like is fair for a player.
Yeah, of course.
And overlooking their play is just another thing that the Portland Trailblazers are going to have to convince a team of. And we when you start having to convince them that, hey, this contract isn't that bad. Hey, this player can fit in your offense. Hey, Jeremy Grant's rebounding, like that's not an issue. I mean, there's so many flaws with these guys already. There's so many question marks with these guys already, and it's not like they're on great contracts, especially Jeremy Grant, especially DeAndre Ayton. And how do you convince a team to still give you value with all that weighing against you, but then also say, yeah, their play this year, don't read into it. Like, it's just another thing to convince a team of, man. And at a certain point, teams, I feel like, are just going to look at it like, man, these guys haven't been that good. They already have all these other question marks, and they're being paid this money. I can go find somebody else that has actually been solid this season that maybe has less question marks that I know will come in here and help the team. Whereas with the way Jeremy Grant's playing, he's not helping a winning team right now with his play. So it's going down a bad road. It's going down a bad road, and hopefully Joe Cronin will be able to convince a team to give up legitimate value for whichever veterans he trades. But I am not holding my breath given his struggles to sell other pieces in the past. So it's a tough position to be in, man. This is why we never really wanted to do the whole two timelines thing, and why we wanted to move off players before going into the season. While it seemed like a large section of the Blazer fan base wanted to be patient.
Yeah, I think with Jeremy, I mean, I've heard this for years. Like his reputation going back to like the bubble and even before that when he was a role player on like OKC and stuff. Like for some reason teams think a lot higher of him than necessarily his play. And that it's just, I mean, his contract's going to obviously factor into that, but you just got to hope that like it's not necessarily convincing a team. It's just, I mean, you just let them know that, there was a lot of trade talks heading into the season with these guys. They were aware of it. We're transparent with them, and it has affected their mood and stuff like that. And it's, I mean, even if that's not true, I think that's what you got to tell teams, right? And and just say, look, they've been not checked out, but like they've been knowing that we're going to move them at some point this season. Their heart's not in it right now. If they got traded to your team, I think their heart would be back in it. They're all, like I said, still young enough to where it's not an age problem. So like I think it's not necessarily you have to convince them of like 20 ifs. Like I understand what you're saying, but I think it's a little bit more simpler. It's just the maximum value obviously isn't going to be there at all, and
Yeah,
you just gotta.
I mean, even if that's true, even if you can convince a team or a team decides to overlook their play this year, you're still going to have to sell a team on other things. Like, okay, because what's the next question with Jeremy Grant? It's, okay, well, are we a good enough rebounding team to be able to bring in a starting power forward that averages 3 rebounds per game? Okay. Is he a good player defensively? Will he help us out defensively? And he's gotten by on reputation. Portland has to hope that continues to be the case. But, like, what if one of the teams that is willing to overlook his play doesn't think he's a good fit, doesn't have the first-round picks to trade for him, doesn't have the contracts they want to trade for him, doesn't have this, doesn't have that? There's, like, so many things that add up that have to go in the Blazers' favor in order for them to get back legitimate value for Jeremy Grant, that it's like, if there's no bidding war, and Portland, it's obvious, has to move Jeremy Grant because he's checked out, and the league knows, he's checked out there in Portland. Even if that's a common knowledge thing that you would think would help the Blazers, and it's common knowledge across the league, that doesn't necessarily put Portland in a great spot, because then it's like, oh, well, they have to trade him. How many teams are actually trying to trade for him? It could work itself out in the end. There is just downside to the trade market, and there's downside to continuing to have these guys on the roster that I've been trying to explain for a long time now to the crowd of people that think that the Blazers have to be in no rush and they can wait for as long as they want. It's not that simple, man. It is not that simple.
Well, here's the problem too. It's what you're referring to is leverage, and that's been a staple of Cronin excusers, is that he doesn't have leverage. What is he supposed to do, right? He has to get under the salary cap. So teams know that, and it ruins his leverage. He has to trade Dame, so it ruins his leverage. He has to trade Norman and CJ, so it ruins his leverage, right? Meanwhile, we're telling you guys he's ruining his leverage by not trading them when they have peak value, right? And not trading them before they get out leveraged in these situations. So the problem is he created this leverage by not moving him, just like when Robert Williams gets hurt last year and you can't move him. You set yourself up for a situation where you kind of ruin their value. Now, in Robert Williams' case, maybe he can still save some of that value, but
he probably has the most value of any of the vets right now.
And it's mostly because, when he's on the court and playing, he's far superior than any of the players we're talking about in terms of impact on the court and fitting into a team in a trade. Like, you could see him fitting on pretty much any contender as a role player. So I think the only thing you have to worry about with him is health, obviously. But this is what we're going to trade. We're going to trade some of these guys, and we're going to get crap back for them. And that'll be the case. We're going to hear how, unfortunately, it just got played into a leverage situation where they just were not worth that much, but we had to move on for them for salary cap reasons. And that's I don't want to hear that that's an excusable reason for getting crap from a trade, because you could have moved him sooner. And like you mentioned, we heard from so many people, you can't trade Jeremy Grant last year, right? Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we were good or whatever,
Yeah, if someone preached patience with the Blazers hanging on to these vets, that they could be patient, and then turns around if the Blazers get low value for him at the deadline and say, man, they didn't have much of a market, but they had to trade him, and maybe they waited too long. That's a contradiction. If the Blazers don't get back legitimate value for these guys, that is a reason why they should have been more aggressive trying to trade them sooner. Especially Jeremy Grant, because we heard the reports at last year's deadline that the Blazers did not really listen to offers for Jeremy Grant, and they weren't dying to move him. And apparently they became really serious about moving him before training camp, and I mean, their timeline is just off. Their timing with everything is just off. So we just have to wait and see, man. We just have to wait and see. Jeremy Grant, I don't know, man. I would take a first back at this point. If you could get a first and expiring, even if it's not that great of a first, I am okay with that at this point. The bar has been lowered for these guys, unfortunately. I wish that wasn't the case, but I think that's just the position that the Blazers are in. And it's obvious that they have to move on, man, because these veterans are not helping this team look any better. It's funny how one of the reasons for hanging on to these guys was like, oh, you guys, you don't want to be the Pistons from last year. These guys aren't helping the Blazers win any more games. When Anthony Simons and Ayton were out, that's the best that the Blazers have looked. Since they've come back, I mean, the Blazers don't win. The Blazers do not win basketball games. Like, let's just take a look at the schedule the last 6 games, Eric. 1-5, and you look at the defense there, too. The Blazers, 4 out of the 6 games, they give up 121 points or more. Okay, they gave up 141 to the Jazz. They gave up 127 to the Clippers. They let Norman Powell torch them. They gave up 137 to the Mavericks, right? Today, you hold the Lakers to 107, but they don't have LeBron James, and they had been playing terribly as of late. So that's not even much of a win. Like, the defense is really bad. The offense is really bad. And with veterans playing, the Blazers, I mean, it doesn't make a difference. The thing is, when you did not have Anthony Simons and DeAndre Ayton on the floor, you could start to see an identity forming. With those guys back, you do not see that same identity. You do not see them like flying around defensively. You don't see them getting out and running. You don't see them doing much of anything consistently productively. And that's the shame of doing this 2 timelines thing is, man, what if it was just, Klingon being hurt hurts the Blazers in terms of finding their identity, of course, because I think Klingon will be a huge part of the Blazers' defensive identity. But on top of that, man, it's like, okay, if these young guys could have just kept playing together and you didn't bring back Ayton, you didn't bring back Ant, would this team look better defensively? I think they'd look a lot better defensively. I think one of the biggest reasons for that is DeAndre Ayton. A lot of people say Anthony Simons, but DeAndre Ayton is your center. He's not a rim presence. He's not a rim protector, and he's had some really bad defensive games in this stretch, and you're paying him a ton of money for it. So
the amount of times he walked back on defense tonight, man.
I mean, he is going through the motions. Chauncey called out his spirit. I called out his spirit on Twitter before Chauncey ever did. If any Blazer fan is still defending DeAndre Ayton, what are you doing, man? Like, what?
19 rebounds, Tori.
What are you doing? Yeah, okay, so his tall ass can grab rebounds. Yeah, listen, he got some offensive rebounds just by hanging out around the rim. Okay, great. He's going through the motions, his effort. Even in playoff games, he had effort issues. The Blazers need to get as far away from guys with effort issues as possible if they want to form the identity of, like, we're a scrappy, hard-playing team. Because guys that don't consistently bring it, veterans especially that don't consistently bring it, go directly against the identity you're trying to form. So young guys that are hungry, that'll get after it, that will probably still be dogs on their second contract. They're not just playing for their second contract like DeAndre Ayton has admitted in the past. Those are the types of guys you want on your team. Denny Avdija still plays his ass off, man. He's on his second contract. He probably should have gotten paid a little bit more. He's on a really good contract for the Blazers. He still plays his ass off. He still runs back in transition. He does not give up ever in defensive transition. And you see multiple veterans on this team that do. And that's a perfect comparison point in terms of just because a guy gets paid, just because a guy gets to a second contract doesn't mean his effort falls off. Some guys are wired the right way, okay? You got to build your team out with those guys. And if you have veterans that aren't like that, it is detrimental to your rebuild. It is detrimental to your team. And that is where I am in full agreement with you. The Blazers need to move on from DeAndre Ayton, from Jeremy Grant, from Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons is a little different. There's some other things there, but you got your 2 young guards, right? You got some good young role players. You have enough here to move forward with the rebuild. So that's what this whole entire season is about at this point, is how do you get off of Simons, Grant, Ayton, and how do you get the most back for him? Everything else is just kind of like, okay, yeah, hopefully Sharp develops, hopefully Scoot develops, hopefully these young guys continue to improve. But it's hard to even tell when you got this mess of a team on the floor each night. Like, man, I feel like some of these young players would do better if you didn't have these veterans. I mean, we saw Shaden Sharp look much better when he was playing at the end of the season, his rookie year, when he was playing with a bunch of scrubs. So that's where I'm at. Chat, let me know if you agree or disagree, but just got to get off these guys as soon as possible, man.
Yeah, when we talked about clarity, or when Cronin mentioned it before the season, we're hoping that meant clarity in terms of which players stepped up. And I don't think that has happened at all in terms of like the guards or whatever. But the thing is, it has been some clarity with is, I mean, they need to do something different. Like I don't think they can just keep doing what they're doing. They have to mix it up. And Adam Smith's had a comment when I mentioned trading away Ant earlier that says, but if we throw away Ant, Eric, we don't know what we have in Sharp yet. We need Scoot as our starting point guard. I don't care what we have in Sharp. If we bottom out and suck and Sharp and Scoot never like become our starter, like they never become part of our core in the future and we have to rebuild again, I'd rather start that process now.
Yeah.
Like knowing that process now than just keep doing what we're doing right now and waiting another couple of years with like, oh, maybe it's gonna work, like I'd rather just throw them out there, let them be the point guard and the shooting guard for a while. If they're not it, then you move on from them too in a year or two, and it opens it up to, if you get a high draft pick this year, you draft a guard if that's the best player on the board, because like it does. I don't think we're set at any position right now to where we can say, oh, we could pass on this guy in the draft and draft need because we have that player,
Yeah. That's how you end up drafting Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic, by the way.
Yep. And so I don't really care anymore what anyone looks like with or without anyone.
Yeah.
I want to maximize what's best for the people that still have a chance here long term. And I was hoping, Anthony would be included in that. I mean, he could still technically turn it around, but like I said, I think what's best for this organization, even if it leads to losing a lot more games this year, I mean, what does it matter when we've looked so bad at times, Like, does it really matter if we lose a bunch more this year or if we win a couple games? Like,
losing is probably the best thing for this team in the long run. I know people don't want to hear it, but that's reality. The higher the Blazers draft in this year's draft, the more likely they get a better player that's better for their future. It's literally that simple, man. And that doesn't mean, they should purposely lose every single game. They don't need to. They're the second worst team in the league according to adjusted net rating. The only team worse than them is Washington, who is 3-19, okay? Their record is a little bit inflated. They are bottom 5 on both ends of the floor at adjusted rating. Like, they are worse defensively this year, somehow, than they were last year. Last year, they were 23rd in defensive rating, 29th in offensive rating. Okay, this year, they're 26th in defensive rating and 29th in offensive rating. You can't even point to a stat and say, like, yeah, this team definitely got better at something. And that's a problem. That is a problem. People just look at the fact that they've won a third of their games as improvement, man, which is kind of crazy because, listen, it's not hard to improve upon a 21-win season. You won 21 games last year. Okay, what, you win 25 now? That's not the barometer for improvement. The barometer for improvement is, are you building towards your identity? Are your young players getting better? And it's tough to say that the Blazers are doing either of those things, developing their young players or forging some sort of identity. The thing is I think those two things can kind of be tied together and hurt by the veterans that they have on this team, which the only conclusion is you got to move on from them. I mean, it's literally that simple. And as far as your point about if Scoot and Sharp aren't the guys, I mean, listen, if they don't pan out, they could still be solid bench pieces. Like, they could be a solid 6th and 7th man. You know what I mean? That's like a bad case scenario because we're all hoping for much, much more. But in the last 3 drafts, if you started off your rebuild, like you got 2 good bench guards and wings, you got your starting center, potential defensive player of the year of the future. Okay, that's the start of your rebuild. You're still looking for those legitimate difference makers. And I think there's a legitimate possibility that the biggest legitimate difference maker that the Blazers have on their team in the long run, in terms of a young player, is Donovan Clingan, because he can completely change the dynamics on the defensive side of the floor for the Portland Trail Blazers. And you can't say that about either end of the floor for any young Portland Trail Blazer. Honestly, you can't say that about any end of the floor for any veteran. Maybe Robert Williams has a similar impact defensively, but that's the thing, man. Is Donovan Clingan's a true difference maker? If that's where you got to go and Sharp and Scoot don't pan out, then you're going to be drafting in the lottery for 2, 3, 4 more years. You got hopefully some good picks coming down the line from the Milwaukee Bucks, and you get your true difference makers. You know, because you certainly got guys that can play a role. I mean, the biggest thing missing from this rebuild in terms of young players is a true difference maker. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to keep anyone because of somebody else. The young players on this team, they're going to be whatever they're going to be. You got to do your best to develop them. But they're going to pan out or they're not going to pan out. Keeping other guys around based on certain contingencies is just silly, because you're still going to need your difference maker. You're still going to need as much young talent as possible. The equation is very clear. You got to invest in the young talent on this team, hope they pan out, and add as much young talent as possible through the draft and hope they pan out. And in the meantime, you probably need a new coach to make sure that you can develop these young players, because I don't have much faith in Chauncey. And you got to get rid of the vets. Those are the 4 pillars of the Blazers rebuild right now.
Yeah, I do want to go in on Chauncey here in a minute. But first, I have a question. So Ray Petro in chat says, honestly, of late, I like Ayton's effort more than Simon's.
What?
Do you agree with that?
What? What effort has Ayton been giving, bro? What effort has Ayton been? What is Ayton's effort? You think Ayton's been giving effort lately? You think his effort's been good? He literally got benched 2 minutes into the third quarter by Chauncey Billups because Chauncey, quote, didn't like his spirit. Okay, which I pointed out the issues with his spirit earlier in the game, too. It was freaking obvious. And Chauncey's never benched a player that quickly in the second half, man. Chauncey's gone away from holding guys accountable, and he still benched DeAndre Ayton 2 minutes into the second half last game because he didn't like his spirit. So I just do not understand, like, his effort. And E-Ray says this game. I mean, here's the problem with the Blazers and with the vets and this and that. Like, Ayton gets chewed out. He tries a little harder for a little bit. And then he always regresses back to piss poor effort and a poor attitude. He always defaults back to that. Always. The problem is people just see the highs and they take that as if it like means something, as if he doesn't always default back to this stuff. He always did it in Phoenix. Shoot, I would tell Phoenix fans, like, when Phoenix fans would get excited about him, like, he's always going to default back to this crap. And finally, like, once he's gone, it's like, yeah, okay. He always defaults back. I mean, when Ayton's gone, the fans that defend him will realize, like, yeah, man, he always defaults back to poor effort. The dude said success to him was earning his second contract. That's how he defined success. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So, the problem with the Blazers is, like, they need to get knocked out in order to stand back up. Like, they need to lose by 40 to the Jazz in order to play with more effort. They need to lose by 45 to the Grizzlies in order to win a couple of games. It's like they're so inconsistent mentally that it takes them getting rocked to their core to wake them up. And it's never consistent. They'll wake up for a little bit and people say, man, maybe they're getting better. And then they will resort back to the same old crap with the same old veterans. And that's why this team needs a shakeup. The shakeup is obviously getting rid of the veterans.
Oh, Riley's back.
He's trolling. He's trolling. He's trolling. He wants attention. Don't give him it. Don't give him the attention.
Box score watcher there.
Don't give him the attention. He wants that. Like he's begging. Every comment is begging for attention. Anyway. Yeah. I mean, you can't just look at rebound numbers with this team. The Blazers are last in box outs and one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the league. I don't care about DeAndre Ayton having 19 rebounds. Okay, he rebounded the ball well one time. Okay? On the season, he is a big reason why the Blazers can't rebound. And if you just box score watch rebounds, you're going to sound like a casual if you come in here and say, DeAndre Ayton rebounded really well. He's a good rebounder. Yeah, that's what the stats might tell you, but that's why you have to watch the freaking games, and there's other stats that tell you, yeah, this team is last in the league in boxing out. I'll get you the exact number in terms of their rank on the defensive boards. Okay. The Blazers are... Oh, Eric... The Blazers are the worst defensive rebounding team in the league. The worst. I didn't even think they were the worst, okay? I was making my point thinking that they were like close, like borderline bottom 5. They are the worst defensive team in the league. Defensive rebounding team in the league. They can't rebound. Go to dunksandthrees.com. Go to stats and tools. Go to team stats. Go to 4 factors. Defensive 4 factors. The opponent offensive rebound percentage. Blazers 30th place. 28.7%. That's the facts. They are a terrible defensive rebounding team. It's not just Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's a big reason why. But it's also DeAndre Ayton. So, they're soft. They're soft on the interior. They're a soft rebounding team with those guys.
Well, our coach seems more concerned with laughing it up with the other team than it does coaching the team as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah, let me just say this. He said if you can't sleep after a blowout, you're a loser. Well, you know what? You're also a loser when you laugh after games with the other team and are all buddy-buddy with them and stuff. Like, especially after you called that out to players in previous seasons.
If he never called that out, I wouldn't even give him crap for it. But the fact that he did call that out with his players and then does it himself is super hypocritical.
What's so funny right now? I don't know. Like, what? You lost 4 in a row. Your teams look like absolute ass, and you're out there like, oh, good job, JJ.
It's brutal, man. It's brutal. Sometimes it just seems like he's in coaching just to like be around the game and like hang out with other players and talk to other players and chop it up.
Yeah.
So
just so he gets dapped up by see how many people respect him each game.
Yeah.
Kiss the ring.
It ain't because of his coaching, man. They're respecting him because of who he used to be as a player. Anyway,
you should just lean into that. Have you seen the movie Role Models? Probably not.
Models. You're asking me if I've seen a movie before?
Yeah. He just needs to wear his championship ring and just stand there on the sideline waiting for people to come kiss his ring, like, during the game.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
It sort of feels like he's, like, I agree. It feels like he's just there because he gets attention, you know?
Yeah. I don't understand it, man. Shout out to Antonio, $2 donation. Says, time to admit that Hero is a much better player than Anthony Simons. I mean, this year, yeah, he's much better. Thank you for the donation. Do you want to touch on that, Eric?
Well, I mean, he's obviously referring to the value of the Heat trade. I mean, you're talking to the wrong people once again because Tori and I both thought we could have maybe extracted more value from the Heat if we weren't, being that way. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's been pretty close in years past, but yeah, Heroes had a good season so far. So yeah.
Yeah, he's been great. Shout out to Alex Wolf, $2 donation. Says, bros, South Beach nightlife is on another level. Is Alex Wolf in Miami right now?
Alex in Miami right now. He went to the Cavs Miami Heat game today. You got to dap up your guy Jalen Tyson, I guess. Um, yeah, so
That's pretty cool.
Alex Wolf's living his best life. He wants to. His goal is to make it to every arena to watch games. So
That's fun.
this weekend it was Miami.
When I'm retired, that is one of the things that I want to pursue. Was seeing a game in every arena. I have not seen an NBA game outside of Motor Center, so need to start with like Sacramento. Start somewhere, or when Seattle gets a team. Anyway, brutal game, dude. Brutal game. Luckily, the trade deadline. What day is the trade deadline? It's like 2 months.
It's always a Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's like the 6th of February. The 6th of February is a Thursday, yeah. So we're less than 2 months away till the trade deadline. We'll start taking a look at like Trade Machine and trade packages a lot more leading up to the trade deadline. Because gotta get rid of these vets, man. It's just... Do you think like... The answer is probably an obvious yes, but like you think they're trying to play these guys to showcase them, right?
I mean, I sure hope so. They're not playing them to win, right?
But if they're playing them this much to showcase them, they're not playing well enough to actually raise their trade value or anything, or even maybe maintain it. So that's failing. The showcasing of the vets is failing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you just gotta hope that they come out of their slump. I don't know.
I mean, so what's the problem with Jeremy, dude? Because like, it seems like it's more than just him being checked out. He can't make a three.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's just like that. You get in your head about it, but I think. I mean, this is another thing we alluded to before the season started. Jeremy thought he was going to be moved before the season started, and he didn't really care what team he played on. That's always been his attitude. Like it's not like he's like a jerk about it or anything, but like I don't know, he just didn't seem to re-engage after all that stuff happened before the season started.
That is something that'll never get out.
Yeah.
That is something that they will keep under wraps always.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help their narrative if they let that get out.
No.
So, I mean, it's at the point where, yeah, they wanted to move him this offseason. They wanted too much. And then they waited too long to maybe budge off that asking price. We don't know if they did or didn't. All summer it was they want 2 first-round picks for Jeremy Grant. Oh, they also want Rui Hachimura.
As of right now, I don't think they've budged off that.
If they haven't budged
Not
off
the
that...
the Rui part, but the 2 first part, yeah.
Dude, what teams? They are not getting 2 firsts for Jeremy Grant.
Yeah. So
I will say I was wrong so hard if they do.
And the thing is, so here's part of the problem. Okay, so you wait into the period like right before the season where a lot of teams then they're into training camp or whatever. They want to see what their team's like. The Lakers are a perfect example. They are not they. Rob Pelinka in particular wanted to see. He felt like that when the team was healthy last year, they were better than what their record would indicate or how their season turned out. Stupid, we know that.
The problem is they will never stay healthy because they got 40-year-old LeBron and Anthony Davis.
And that's okay. So that's where, and then Vanderbilt still hasn't played this season or whatever. And so they were waiting to kind of see how they were doing. Everyone knew that was the wrong move. Everyone thought they should have made a move at the trade deadline last year. They didn't. Everyone thought they should have made a move this summer. They didn't. And so you're still throwing out D'Angelo Russell and those kind of guys, right? So the narrative was, okay, they get off to a hot start. Maybe Pelinka was right, and they just needed a new coach, right? And so then you're leaning towards maybe they are going to be willing to make that one big trade to push them over the top. But now they've kind of come back down to earth. I mean, obviously they win tonight, but they've kind of come back down to, if we made a trade for even if we traded our 2 firsts for a really good player, or even one of those first, are we even going to be that much better? Like if they traded for Jeremy, so like I think they're stuck in this position now where even if they move a first for Jeremy, they're not good enough. Even if they kept Rui,
they need a couple guys,
right? And so now you're stuck like giving up first for basically no reason,
yeah,
and ruining your future for a minimal gain. And so now they might just not trade like. They might make minor trades to kind of tweak some players. There was a player before the season started, a Nick Richards type, that they could go after if they got for cheap. But now they're stuck in a position where they need several players, especially if they trade D'Lo. Then they need a point guard because, we saw Gabe Vincent starting point guard tonight. That's not going to cut it for them if they're trying to contend or whatever. So,
yeah.
I think they need too much to just make one big move and be fine, unless it's like the perfect guy. But I don't think any of the players on Portland right now are the perfect guy for them.
Like if they're gonna trade their picks, it's more likely to be something where they get back Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith from the Nets than a Jeremy Grant trade.
Yeah,
in my opinion. And because that you get a solid team defender that can really, really shoot in Cam Johnson. I mean, isn't that what Jeremy Grant is supposed to be? Like, but Cam is more off ball. Cam probably fits in better than Jeremy Grant. Like, you could make the case that Cam Johnson would be better for the Lakers than Jeremy Grant. You could make that case. I might not agree with it, but you could make that case. And he's cheaper, right? So that's the problem if it's like, oh, just trade him to the Lakers. What if the Lakers say they want Cam Johnson instead? I could see that. What if they get Dorian Finney-Smith on top of that? Like, I think the Nets would give up Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith for 2 first-round picks. So if Joe Cronin's still asking for 2 first-round picks for Jeremy Grant from the Lakers, why don't the Lakers just sit there and say, oh, no, we'll go to Brooklyn. We'll get Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. We'll get Cam Johnson to fill the role that Jeremy Grant would fill, and he does little things a little bit better. And then Dorian Finney-Smith can be our lockdown wing defender that we kind of need.
Yeah. I don't know how they get too many players salary-wise. I know they have several contracts they can throw in, but it's weird. I think Anthony would be the best player they could trade from us right now in terms of what they need on their team.
I mean, but you see D'Lo tonight. Is Anthony...
No, I know, but like they... Obviously, if they make some big moves, D'Lo's going to be part of that trade, but
that's the problem with Anthony is like... I don't know. Like, you could sit here as the Lakers and be like, okay, why would we care about Anthony Simons when we're trying to trade D'Angelo Russell, but D'Angelo Russell has still been a better player this season?
Yeah.
Like, why would they downgrade?
Anyone's been a better... that goes back to the whole trusting a career arc versus, 20 games season so far.
Yeah. I mean... I don't know. Maybe you could make the case Ant would be better, but here's the point: it's a debate between D'Angelo Russell versus Anthony Simons.
Right.
Like,
that's not going to help them. That goes back to my original point.
So it's just messy, man. It's just messy. Joe Cronin gets applauded for creating messes, and it's fascinating. It's so fascinating. Like, look, he's not panic trading the vets. Good job. All right, man. Well. Where are we at right now then? Like, what are we actually going to get back for them? It's not looking too good, and I understand the hopium from the people that say we're just being negative, we just need to relax. Like, they're going to be able to find something on the trade market, yada, yada, yada. I hope so. I hope so. Anyway, let's break down this game. But first, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor for this post-game show, BetUS. If you use promo code YouTube150 on BetUS, you get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonuses on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. You can get in on the NFL. I know a lot of people in here are Seahawks fans. Congratulations. You guys are looking like you're going to win the division. You can get in on NFL game spreads. You can get in on division spreads, all sorts of bets over there at BetUS for any sport, overseas basketball, college basketball, NBA, right? And NFL, of course. So make sure you check them out if you want to get in on the action with a sports book, because they are America's favorite sports book, BetUS, where the game begins. Promo code YouTube150. Check them out. Sorry, Eric, I know I brought up football, and that's just frustrating for you. Since I brought up football, there's a good chance that I'll be playing you in round 1 right now of our fantasy playoffs. So congratulations on making it to round 2.
Yeah, your jinx stuff, yeah.
That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. Yeah, so you're down 3. You need it. Let's see. You need 4 points from Mike Jasicki tomorrow, and then we play each other in the playoffs.
All right. Cool.
So, we'll see. We'll see. Unless Connor gets like 50 from CD and T. Higgins.
I like half my team on bye this week, so I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's been a stressful fantasy season for me. Been a stressful football season, man. And then you got the freaking. I'm not even going to talk about that other football team that we don't like. Anyway, it's all my teams suck, man. All my teams suck. Niners suck. Somebody in chat was like, "I hope Tori's happy," or "I wonder if Tori's happy that the Niners won." They're not making the playoffs. They're just getting a worse pick at this point. Too little, too late. Where was this 5 weeks ago? They're not making the playoffs. The Mariners might have another 20-year playoff drought because they won't spend the money, and the Dodgers have bought the next 10 World Series. And then you got the Huskies are rebuilding, and I don't even want to talk about college football. And Gonzaga just choked an 18-point second-half lead to Kentucky and lost that game. And, of course, the Blazers. All my teams are ass right now, Eric. Every single one of them.
Except for Gonzaga.
They just blew an 18-point second-half lead to Kentucky, man.
That's all right.
And they lost to West Virginia.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll make another Sweet 16. Yay. It's bad out here. It's bad out here. That's why the Blazers got to get on track, man. That's why the Blazers got to figure things out. Alrighty. Player of the game, as voted on in the chat poll, is Scoot Henderson. You know it's a bad night when this stat line is the player of the game. No offense to Scoot, because he was okay. 13 points, 2 rebounds, no assists, 3 turnovers in 21 minutes. 3 for 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. He was 1 for 2 on heaves, on half-court heaves. Shout out to him for shooting them. And it didn't mess up his efficiency tonight, because he was 1 for 2 on them. So that's cool. 1 for 3 from 3 in all. Got to the line 6 times in 21 minutes. I like to see that because he was getting to the line a ton to start the season, and then that tapered off, and he's been struggling with the injuries. So it's tough after missing games to come back in and actually have a good night when the rest of the offense is completely dysfunctional. So, there's a couple bad turnovers in there, of course, but solid night, and he got voted for player of the game.
Yeah, I said, asked the question in chat if this is the worst poll of the season. I'm pretty confident to say it was. I didn't. You asked me who to put in the poll. I didn't even feel good about putting any of them. But yeah, I mean, I think Scoot was fine in this game. He had a really nice finish. Obviously, the half-court shot was nice. Didn't even see it go in.
No, I was looking down because I was just expecting Nothing.
No, no. Scoot turned
Oh
around.
yeah,
Like,
he turned.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you asked if I saw it. No, I didn't
No.
see it go in though. But
Uh,
yeah, well, I don't know why he
yeah.
turned, man. Why wouldn't you?
It,
You shoot it
it
online too. Why wouldn't you watch
it
it?
looked like he was gonna wait till after the buzzer sounded. I'm glad he didn't. But man, he was the only one because this is the problem. Our offense absolutely sucks, and we rely on guys like Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons to and Jeremy Grant to just completely break down their guy. And it wasn't happening tonight. And on plays it did, it results into you getting funneled right into Anthony
Yeah,
Davis near the rim, and that's not a good play either. So
yeah,
both of those options suck.
yeah,
And here we are in the third quarter doing the same freaking thing that didn't work the first two quarters, Chauncey.
yeah.
And here we are just running ISO with Sharp, and he can't even get by D'Angelo Russell in a one-on-one situation. But like, does it matter? Because Anthony Davis is standing 10 feet behind him, just waiting in case he does. So how is that good offense? Like, what the frick are we doing, Tori? Like, I don't understand why we devolved so much into this. And that period where we made the comeback, you said we cut it to 3 at one point. We were getting up, pushing the ball up the court, and we hit a couple of threes to start the third quarter, and it looked like we were going to turn it around. And then we just stop running and we slow the ball down and go half court, and it drives me crazy, man.
Wait,
Like,
you
it's
you
just
don't understand why?
we play dumb basketball. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
like, it's just,
the the reason the reason for everything is, and like you know this, right?
yeah, yeah.
I like it's very clear. The reason for a lot of the struggles offensively is every single one of Chauncey Billups' sets are quick hitters, and none of them go anywhere. All of them are like above free throw line extended. You don't have like more than one or two actions, and the actions are usually just like a dribble handoff or like passing it back and forth above the arc until somebody has to do something. So you have no structure to your offense that helps out anyone. Your offense is failed quick hitters that turn into somebody do something. And that's
Yeah.
why you have all this ISO crap, and that's why teams under Chauncey Billups are last in assist percentage and are terrible ball movement teams. Even when they had a better stretch of ball movement like a couple, like 2, 3 years ago, it was all like guys overpassing and like trying to move the ball a lot of times in freelance situations. There's never been much structure at all under Chauncey Billups. And his sets are, he has the worst sets in the league. I said this in the preseason.
Yeah. Oh,
It was funny because
those stupid dribble handoffs.
we have
Yeah.
this new coaching staff, these new assistant coaches, and we go into the preseason like, man, maybe they can help Chauncey out. Maybe we actually run some different stuff. Maybe we actually have better sets. After one preseason game, I knew that wasn't going to be the case. I don't know if you guys remember our first preseason postgame show, but I'm pretty sure we came on here like, dude, we're still running the same crap. The sets are awful. Like, and we're sitting there criticizing preseason, and people, just wait for the regular season. It's like, okay, if they're gonna put in new stuff, you work on it in the preseason. Like, they didn't put in anything new. They don't change anything. I mean, the whole coaching is just like sit back and like watch stuff happen, and then freaking have a heart to heart every time they lose by 40, and then they'll play a little harder and maybe win a couple games, and then we act like we're figuring it out, and then we lose by 40 again. And in the meantime, we don't do anything schematically to switch up anything offensively, and it's crappy sets. It's relying too much on guys to score through 1-on-1 in isolation. We probably rely on that more than any other team in the league. Like, it's statistically backed up too. And it's basically just roll the ball out there and watch them try and figure out what the hell to do offensively. Hopefully you don't get blocked by Anthony Davis if you can beat your defender off the dribble, was basically the offensive game plan today.
So my question is, what coach would watch the offense all last season and then watch it fail once again this season and not make any kind of major changes? Like, it's the exact same pretty much. Like,
Yep.
what on earth is this coaching staff doing to address the problem? I don't see them trying anything different to like get them out of shooting slumps, to get them good shots, to like maybe get someone going that, or we talk about or like even Billups himself, and this has been a topic of conversation, whether it's media or coaches or whatever. It's like or Sharp needs to be aggressive, right? Well, what are you doing to help him be aggressive? Like I feel like this coaching staff just thinks if you keep doing the same thing, eventually it's on the players to adapt to the system, and the system's great. There's nothing wrong with our sets. It's the players aren't executing right. It's like, dumbasses, you have a year and a half of data now saying that it's not the players, it's your freaking system that doesn't work. It doesn't get them good shots or anything like that. So, like, maybe try changing the system, the sets you run, to not have these issues where you're going one-on-one and having to ISO so much. It's not that these guys are too dumb to run a more complex system, because you tried explaining that your system was too complex for these players. It obviously isn't. It's so simple that like teams can easily defend it. Like I don't understand why we don't even try to run different sets or do different things on offense when it's painfully obvious this stuff.
And anyone that defends Chauncey in that regard, it's a classic case of, if the roster isn't good, then the coach can't be bad. And are we lagging?
Yeah.
Wow. Are we back? Chat, are we back? Weird. Weird little lag hiccup.
It's really choppy, but
yeah, I don't know why, man. Don't know why. Anyway, I think we're fine.
Do you open stuff on your computer?
No, I mean it was internet connection, so
yeah.
But no, I didn't open anything, so yeah, weird little lag hiccup. Luckily we don't deal with that stuff much at all anymore, so lagging behind like Chauncey's game plans. Maybe it was a sign to breathe. Yeah, dude, I just took my first breath in an hour, Eric. Somehow I'm still alive. All right. What were we saying?
That Chauncey sucks, basically.
Yeah, Chauncey basically sucks, man. I mean, the point I was making was, you can have a bad roster and a bad coach. You can have bad offensive talent and miss open shots, but also have really bad sets that don't go anywhere or accomplish anything. And it's like, if they were, it would be clear if they had like good set design and players were not making the right read or not executing it properly. It would be obvious. Right? Like, oh, that player was open and you missed him. Oh, that player got open on the backdoor screen, but you were looking at the other guy.
That player's supposed to cut in this situation. He just stood there.
Yeah, like that person didn't make the cut that we've seen out of the set before. It's not that. Oh, that player set a moving screen on floppy. You had guys going through. You had different options. Somebody set a moving screen. It's not that. Like, that's the thing, because you can have guys that miss open shots and run good sets. You can have bad offensive talent and like run some good stuff to try and help them out that doesn't always get executed. That is the whole thing with talking about coaching and offense that drives me crazy, is like, oh, well, man, look at these players on the roster. What is he supposed to do? Like, it's not an either or. And I don't know why so many people treat it as an either or. It's not. Yes, they miss open shots. Yes, they don't have the best shooting talent on this team. But here's the thing. Even their good shooters are struggling in this offense. That should tell you something. Even their good shooters are regressing when they shouldn't be. That should tell you something. Okay? And the sets are obviously crap. What other team will run 3 dribble handoffs above the arc before even looking towards the rim? What team hands it off to somebody running behind them, who goes over and hands it off to the wing, who then passes it back up to the first guy 30 feet away from the rim at the top of the arc? With none of those guys ever looking at the rim before then. And then the guy at the top catches it, and then they run a pick and roll. It's like, you're going to run a freaking pick and roll, right away. What's all that window dressing crap? Their sets are obviously crap. And it doesn't, I think it's obvious they don't need a good roster to prove that the sets are crap.
Yeah, we had a play where I forgot who was bringing it up. It might have been Denny or something. And he passed to DeAndre Ayton on the wing, and Ant was in the corner. And they had the opportunity to run some off-ball screens or something and get something going. And I'm like, watch, they're all just going to stand there and wait a couple seconds, and then Ant's just going to come up and get a dribble handoff, and they're going to go back up to the top, and then they're going to run the it's basically like Ant dribbled the ball up the court.
Yeah.
Only it's 12 seconds later. You know what I mean? You just wasted half the shot clock, and you're exactly in the same position with no advantage, and Ant has to try and set up the offense. And it's just so dumb. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. Let's quickly go through any other players we haven't touched to. We need to get to call-ins. We need to get to Tankathon. And we'll also take a look at NBA standings. And we have a reveal, all right, that we'll do at the end of the stream. Okay, so any other players you want to talk about, Eric?
No, I'm fine being done talking about this game.
It was good that Tumani played because Chauncey said he wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
He was getting imaging done on his foot, and then he plays. So that was good news.
Yeah, maybe he should have sat out there.
He did hit an and 1-3. He did his best Jeremy impersonation. So
yeah.
We'll take a look at the team stats for a second, though. Those are not the team stats. The team stats didn't updated. I guess we won't look at the team stats. That's fine. Don't need to. Anyway, probably the same team stats. No, I think that was team stats from a game we won. Anyway, the Blazers shoot 25% from the field, 42%. Or 42% from the field, 25% from 3, 17. Make it 18 team turnovers, 17 on their box score. That always confuses me. They've been very turnover prone. Yeah, not good. Not good. If you want to call in, join the call-in tab on our Discord here in a couple of minutes. We'll take calls for about 30 minutes. Just, try not to speak for more than a minute in a row. I know some people call in and want to talk for 5-10 minutes in a row. That is not the point, So come prepared. Come ready to go with your call-ins. And Eric, I'll start this and you can join it. Make sure I am muted. I'll make sure you're muted. Last time we did this, I was solo and you called in. That was cool, but
Are we in the main chat? Or
it's just the call-in. Yeah, it's just the call-in.
For some reason it's not showing up on mine.
I just started it, so give it some time.
There it is.
Would Damon Stoudemire be a better coach than Billups? I don't know if Damon Stoudemire would be a good NBA coach. Maybe, but I don't know.
Would anyone be a better coach than Chauncey Billups? The answer is yes.
Yeah. I don't know if the answer is yes. You could always do worse.
I don't know, man.
Jim Boylan?
I don't know.
Jim Boylan is...
Nate Bjorkgren.
Yeah. Alrighty. First caller, we got a legend. He's been on the channel before because he helped hook up the watch parties the past couple years. Is our guy clearly a bot? If you try and call in, you'll be invited to speak. You'll see a prompt that says you're invited to speak. I don't know exactly what it looks like because I've never been on the other end of this thing, but you just have to accept that prompt. You'll join the stage, and then you can call in. And if you're not in our Discord, join our Discord. We do a lot of stuff through there. F it, let's hire Jeff Van Gundy. I don't want, like, retreads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the next new
We need a young guy.
mind, yeah. All right, clearly a bot. You trying to call in, let me know. Because I invited you to speak. If not, we'll go to Jakey. Jakey Fakey is his name, Eric. That's who we have on deck. What is it for? What is what for, Jacob? The Discord? We do our mock off-season through there. We do mailbag questions we're going to do there from now on. You can talk with other Blazer fans as well during game chats. So it's basically just kind of like a community hub sort of thing. All right. Clearly a bot's gone, so we'll go to Jakey, and then we'll go to Gyro.
You guys have to accept the invitation.
Or we'll get no callers, and that's fine, and we'll make it a shorter post-game show. In the meantime, let's do Tankathon, because I forgot to do that before this. All right, I'll load that up. Jakey, you've been invited, so let me know. Otherwise, let's pull up the good old Tankathon. And let's simulate a lottery. Right now, the good news is the Blazers are basically tied for 6th best odds, but the Sixers have played 2 less games. The Blazers are only 1 game behind 4th best odds, Eric. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. So hopefully the Blazers can get there, continue to lose. I mean, you got New Orleans. They look like they're just going to tank this year. But maybe the Blazers can pass them. The only 2 teams I have confidence will be worse than Portland is Utah and Washington. But Utah, of course, beat Portland by 42. So it's never too late to get top 3 odds. Blazers still have a ton of time to tank. Blazers are 2-8 in their last 10, 8-16 on the season. Let's simulate the lottery. Scroll up from the bottom like we normally do. 14, Utah via Minnesota. 13, Houston via Phoenix. They're in 10th place right now. 12th is Sacramento, so somebody moved up. Who moved up? Oh, San Antonio moved up.
Yeah.
Yay! 11.
They could get 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, they technically could. 11 is Detroit. 10th is Indiana. 9th is Chicago. 8th is Philadelphia to OKC. So that means Portland moves up along with San Antonio. At 7 is Charlotte. At 6 is Utah. And at 5 is Washington. So New Orleans, San Antonio, Portland, and Toronto. Top 4. At 4 is your Portland Trailblazers. This is just like the last sim, man.
Yeah.
At 3 is the New Orleans Pelicans. At 2 is the San Antonio Spurs. And at 1 is the Toronto Raptors. Raptors capture the flag. San Antonio probably takes Dylan Harper, right?
They're kind of a wild card.
I like Dylan Harper for them, though. Anyway, that's Tankathon. At least we moved up again. At least we moved up. If we move up, I want to move up into the top 3. I still am not.
Scotty Barnes is pretty good.
Who?
Flag and Scotty Barnes. I'm just thinking.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I'm still not sold on Ace Bailey. We now have only one person in here trying to call in, and guess who, Eric?
Oh yeah.
It's our guy, Dro. He hopped up here for half a second, and then it kicked him or something. Do we finally get somebody in our call-in? Dro, are you there?
Yo.
Yo, and then he cuts out.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah. What's
Yeah.
up, man?
Hey,
Let's
Dro.
go. What's up, guys?
How are you, Dro?
I'm doing good. I'm actually working out here in the middle of nowhere in Hermiston right now.
Hermiston.
Why are you in
Yeah,
Hermiston?
yeah. I'm doing electrical work out here.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah. So, how do we start a movement to uh, change ownership? This shit's getting pretty annoying.
Please try not to cuss, Dro.
He made it two sentences,
Oh,
Eric.
yeah. I'm in Discord. My bad. I didn't know I was on YouTube right now.
What do
I'm
you
playing.
mean
I'm playing. I'm playing.
you get out of
I'm
here,
Oh
playing. I'm
bro?
playing. I'm playing.
gosh,
Get out
Dro.
of here, man. Dro would be the type to call in and not know, but how do we start a movement? I don't know. Start a petition. Go to petition.org and start a petition that, I mean, there's nothing we can do, Dro. Like, there's nothing we can do.
Well, I
We
think
don't affect billionaires, sadly.
Yeah. True. True.
well, I mean, one thing could have done. Jody was at the last game when we were down by 42 at the end. I heard there were some boo birds out. Um, some media tried to say it was just because the Blazers didn't get chicken nuggets or something, but
Uh,
um, that would have been the perfect time to start chanting "Sell the team." And I think stuff like that would have a little bit of impact, but yeah, basically, Jody's getting paid over $100 million a year to do nothing and have a team. So why would she want to sell right now until she has to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes like a point in time to where like everybody, Portland, like collectively is going to be like, I mean, there's so much success in Portland in terms of like basketball. It's literally a basketball city. And the more, the more wins that they get, the more money that the team and ownership is going to get. So it just seems to make sense. Like something changes because, I mean, I even went to the Mavericks game and it's just dead in there. It does not feel the same whatsoever. And I really do hope that something does change in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, this organization has lost whatever magic they had during those Dame years, and I know some people don't view those years as magical, right? They were a treadmill team that never seriously contended. But you packed Moda Center every night, and you were competitive most nights, had some very exciting games, some extremely exciting moments with Damian Lillard, of course, and there was a bit of an aura around this team. That's gone. The Moda Center is a perfect reflection of that in terms of it's so dead in there, man. There's times where it sounds like a library in there. They're like the Jazz game, people are lamenting going to the game. And basically, if you go to the game, it's just like, I got nothing better to do tonight. Might as well just go see a basketball game. At least tickets are cheap. And then too often, this team makes you want to leave in the third quarter. And it's completely different. And that's what happens with a rebuild when you go from being a perennial playoff team to a rebuild. But at some point, they're going to have to start actually making progress because you can be a bad team and still have like excitement and still be more competitive than this. And I feel like the biggest issue for a lot of people is the veterans still on this team. Like if you were starting Denny Avdia, Donovan Clingan, Scoot, Sharp, and going out there and like losing by 10, but those guys they would have exciting plays. They would have big time plays. They would play hard, and you would be able to get behind that at least. It would be easier rebuilding that way than, oh yeah, DeAndre Ayton is out there going through the motions. Yeah, Chauncey Billups is just standing there with his hands in his pockets, doesn't even want to run any offense. Yeah, Jeremy Grant is just like doesn't care about rebounding the ball, and Anthony Simons is struggling and probably should be somewhere else. That sort of stuff I feel like makes it tougher for fans to be fully invested. And when you read stuff online that fans are saying, man, it's all the same stuff. Like, got to move on from these vets. Got to move on with the rebuild. Tired of the two timeline stuff. And it's just sad. It's just sad because, yes, it's a rebuild, but I do miss when this organization and when the Moda Center was alive because right now it all feels dead.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have a choice in Portland to like be bad, you know what I mean? Like it's too small of a city to be like, okay, guys, like give us 5 years and we'll do something. I think there's too much of a demand for success, especially that Portland is a basketball city. It literally relies on the Blazers being good, like, businesses around the arena, a whole bunch of things, even the max to get there. I remember plenty of times before where the whole max line would be completely filled of Blazer fans going to the games. Like, that is completely gone, and we're losing a lot of revenue. Even the Blazers are losing a lot of revenue, which, I mean, it's a quick turnaround. Just, we need to get somebody in there, and it's unfortunate that it hasn't happened yet, and I hope it does happen soon. Like a Matt Ishaba type of guy that goes in there and just balls out. Because, I mean, look at the Sun Stadium now. Before, it was terrible. I mean, you could even go to like Fry's, which is like the Fred Meyer, and get free basketball tickets if you buy like a Powerade at Fry's in Phoenix. Like, that's how bad they were back in the day, and I really hope the Blazers don't get to that point, because there's no way. I mean, Phoenix is way bigger than Portland, so I don't even think they'd be able to get to that point.
Yeah, in terms of ownership, it's weird because there are several media members that still defend Jody Allen, saying she's willing to do whatever it takes and all this kind of stuff, and I just find that kind of weird. But here's the thing: I think people are reasonable. I think if the team's playing hard and giving effort and, like Tori said, is showing somewhat of a glimpse of what they could be, I think people would acknowledge that and be excited about it. Um, but here's the problem. Each of the last 3 seasons now, for basically at least 20 plus games, we've run out a G League level lineup. And has any season tickets been like lowered because of that or anything like that? Like, in fact, like a lot of season tickets went up this last off season. And so like we're in a situation where it's continuing to get more expensive, like a lot of things. And um, people wanted to be excited about this team, even though they weren't supposed to be great this year. And they kind of lowered expectations for the team, or tried to at least. But when you have players that could just completely give up on the floor, you can call it didn't have the right spirit all you want. But, you're playing a 4-win team at home, and that's the kind of effort you give in front of your fans. I mean, I don't think there's any reason for Portland fans to be excited about this team right now. And it's really sad because, yeah, I mean, just a few games ago, I was sitting here saying I didn't really care. I wasn't going to get too high about wins or losses, but this team has completely just gone in a direction where I don't think this is going anywhere with this kind of coaching and system and roster and all that kind of stuff. And so it's makes it hard because um like I mean, Dro, you know me, like I'm like one of the most diehard Blazer fans ever, right?
Right.
You know that, right? And I like really I'm
Right. Right.
kind of
Yep.
starting to not care, like, and that's like I almost feel bad, like I'm sad about that, you know what I mean? And it's like if they're doing that to me, just think about like all the fans who are kind of fair weather fans or borderline fans or just go to the stadium to be seen or whatever, and like like those people aren't going to want to go to games anymore coming up, like. So the fact that this is now the 4th year of this crap, and like I just think it's starting to build up to a point where it's going to be really hard to bring them back. Now, if you start winning soon, I think it'll all be forgotten and people will come right back. But I find it hard to believe that this organization, under the ownership, like you mentioned, under this front office, under this coaching staff, will ever turn the page into that. So I think they need to clean house with all 3 of those before getting too excited about it.
Yeah, and I have a
Right. And
question
it's definitely
for
like a false sense of hope.
yeah, I have a question for you, Dro, as well as anybody in chat. I want chat to answer this as well. Is part of the struggle in terms of like being invested in this team as a fan, is part of the struggle that they've already done this for 3 years and they don't have enough to show from those 3 years. Like, yeah, you got Sharp. People are excited about him. You got Scoot. He was supposed to be much better. He's had his struggles, right? You get Klingon. Should always be patient with all three of those guys. But it's like you didn't get a Wembanyama. You don't got a Brandon Miller, right? Is part of the struggle being that we're going on year 4 of this stuff and we don't have enough to show for what we've already been through in terms of this rebuild?
I don't. It's kind of hard to answer that. I mean, I already knew it was going to happen once they said we're going to build around Damian Lillard, and then they did the exact opposite. I was like, okay, I was done from that time. I literally only watched the Blazers and a little bit, and then I'll just watch you guys. I mean, it's pretty sad to say that. Like, the coverage that I even get from this team is from you guys, and it's because of the support that I have for you guys. So, I mean, it's pretty sad. I can't watch these games. Like, I would much rather go to work and, work overtime and stuff like that than watch this team. Like, before I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting off at this time. Blazers start at 7:00. Like, I'm not going to the gym today. I'm gonna watch the Blazers. Like, that's been gone. It's unfortunate because I've spent a lot of money on these games. I have plenty of jerseys. So my pride is still, for you guys and the Blazers to hopefully be good in the future. But in terms of like caring about what they're doing now, there's no point. There's no point in caring about this team. I mean, they're just pathetic. I mean, I'd rather go watch guys at LA Fitness and shoot a ball around than watch this team. They're terrible. No effort.
Well, Drew, Tori and I both have a rec league on during the week. You'd come watch some games if you want.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd probably pay for that rather than a Blazer game.
That's funny.
Man.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you 100%. It's what keeps me coming back is I just like storylines, and I think storylines always makes sports more interesting.
Right.
Even if they're negative storylines, it's like covering this team. Obviously, we're talking about all these storylines all the time, and it's like that's what has me still invested enough as a fan. Is like, okay, where do they go with Ayton? Like, what is the resolution there?
Oh God!
And like, I watched him last game. Yeah, they lose by 42 to the Jazz, but it's like I'm invested while they're getting the doors blown off because I'm like watching DeAndre Ayton's body language and watching him like completely quit on the team, and it's like pissing me off, and it's super sad, but it's also like, dude, I can't look away. This dude is seriously like acting like this as a max contract player. So sometimes it's what keeps me invested is watching the flames burn, so to say, and knowing like, okay, well, all this culminates in a trade deadline where either they're going to get rid of these guys or they're not. Either way, it's going to be a big story. Either way, it's going to be like you're moving forward into a new chapter, which is what everybody wants, or you're kicking the can down the road, and maybe this front office finally gets the heat that they deserve from the people that have supported them this whole time, like that sort of stuff is what keeps me invested in a negative way, I guess.
I mean, Tori, they do have him in the front of the Blazers stadium as like their perennial figure. It's him, Scoot, and Sharp, and they're helping Sharp get up. So, I mean, clearly they want him there, and they're just trying to Ayton. He's out.
No, they don't want him.
I don't know. I mean, I would have had him gone. I would have had him gone last year. He's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. Like, it's still too early after the Dame trade to trade him for just an expiring, and I don't think any team wanted him. So it's like this front office cares about optics to the point where they'll hang on to Ayton going into this year. They didn't have anybody to replace him with either. But if they wanted to keep him, they wouldn't have drafted Klingon. They drafted Klingon to replace Ayton. And it makes no sense to draft Klingon if you just picture him as a backup center for years. They viewed him much more highly than that. I heard they had him number 1 on their board. So I don't think they want Ayton around, especially like the stuff that happened last game with Chauncey pulling him after 2 minutes because his spirit was off, and like Ayton's attitude being as up and down. Like, it wears on teams. It wore on Phoenix. That's why they give him up for next to nothing. And it's where they also give up Tamani to get off of him. And the only, like, they got back Nurk. Nasir Little wasn't there anymore. And they got back Grayson Allen. They gave up Tumani and Aiden for Nurk and Grayson Allen, essentially. That's nothing. So he wears on teams. I think he's worn on the Blazers. Part of the reason why they drafted Klingon. And they view Klingon as the replacement. And they still have Robert Williams here. So I think they would move off of him pretty quickly if given the opportunity. They just have to get that opportunity.
Yeah, I definitely hope. I mean, the only three that I would really want to keep is Tumani, Klingon, and Sharp. Everybody else could go. I mean, anybody else that I didn't mention, they're hit or miss every time. And I mean, Scoot came in and everybody said, "Oh, he's going to be good. He's ready." I mean, he's not ready. I mean, I've never seen a player airball so many times. I mean, it's just embarrassing watching him. Like, he has to do better. We were told that he's going to be good.
How many times has he airballed this year, man? Once?
I know the Pelican game. He airballed twice. I know that for sure.
I feel like I've seen at least half the team airball as much as him this year.
Right. But I mean, he's the third pick. He's Dame's replacement.
We got to stop.
You know?
Okay, so I get it, but I also think we got to stop basing Scoot off of this is what the narrative was about him a year and a half ago before he had ever played. Like, that doesn't mean anything now. He is what he is right now, and you got to try and develop him to the best of your ability. What people said about him a year and a half ago, to me, like, that just isn't relevant anymore. And I understand if it's like frustration due to you had such high expectations for him and he hasn't met those, so it's like, oh, he was supposed to be better than this. I get it. But at the same time, like, we've seen what he is. We know what he is. What people said a year and a half ago doesn't have any, like, doesn't matter in reality right now. Okay, like, if we took him 20th and have the same player, people would be a lot happier about it. Guess what? We'd still be in the same exact position as we are right now. So that was kind of my question in terms of, like, oh, we've tanked so hard and we don't have enough to show for it, in terms of, like, that's why some people are frustrated and checked out. And I think, like, that kind of narrative is, you know, or that kind of feeling is kind of what I was trying to get at with that question, is that, yeah, the 7th pick, 3rd pick, 7th pick, you tanked really hard for 3 straight years, and people feel like Blazers don't have enough exciting young talent with star potential right now.
Everyone
from
loves
those
Sharp,
3 years of tanking. Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, our GM did tell us that he was ready. So, I mean, I'm going off of a professional.
So you believe everything that Cronin says, huh?
Oh, no, never.
So then
never.
Why do we care about what Cronin said?
Right.
He obviously
but I'm just saying is
guessing.
that he did say it, though. That's what I'm saying, is a lot of people buy into what he says.
Yeah, but
right?
what he says doesn't matter.
So,
yeah, I mean, that's other people, though. Like, what he says is clearly BS a lot of the time. I mean, it's GM speak, so he's going to say what he's going to say to try and make stuff sound better. We know that.
Yeah. I hope they do something. I'm going to keep praying about it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for calling in, bro.
Yes.
You should call in every call-in night because it's always a fun conversation.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Corey, I want the one-on-one pretty soon. I want the one-on-one, bro.
Eric, tell this man I'd 21-0 him.
Oh, you went 21-0 him, but you...
I think I played him. I think I played him before, and this dude's played against me. He should know better than a one-on-one challenge anyway.
All right, buddy. Don't be like Joe Cronin now.
No.
Don't start lying.
Nah. I back up my talk, so you don't have to worry about that.
Of course. Yes, sir. All right, guys. Have a good night. Appreciate you guys.
Love you, Dra.
Appreciate you, man. See you
sir.
later.
Love you too, Eric. All right, man. Hey, go Ducks.
Oh, he's such a loser.
At least he didn't say Skodux.
You just said that. We're saying, why are you getting me started? We're saying in all of sports, bro.
I'm just saying, at least he said Go Ducks. He could have easily said something.
Yeah. We're saying in all of sports. People in chat are... Okay, yep, there it is. Put our moderator in timeout for 5 minutes. All right.
Can you still moderate from timeout? How does that work?
Yeah, Arrow, test it. Remove the Adam Smith's comment. Test it. I don't think
Yeah,
he can.
yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, disgusting.
I have a question for you, Tori.
Go ahead, and then we'll bring up Michael Kroll, and then we'll bring up.
I I thought about this while you're talking about like if Scoot was drafted 20th, would
Yeah.
would we care as much, you know? Um, would you trade Scoot for Amen Thompson right now?
Haven't you asked me this like 3 times this year?
I don't think I've asked you about Amen specifically.
No, you've definitely asked me this question before.
I think we talked about the draft going back, but
Chat, has he asked me this question before? Nick says yes.
no, I think they're answering
No,
my
I think
question.
they're saying you've asked me this
Okay.
question before.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I have. I don't know.
I swear you have.
But what I'm saying is like that's part of it too that has to come in to it is like you could have had something else at 3 that you'd be more excited about right now, possibly. But
Yeah. Okay, we'll go to Michael and then we'll go to Arrow. Arrow is banned trying to talk from beyond.
all right, we got Michael Kroll in here. Once he unmutes, I believe Michael, if I'm not mistaken, you're a Dodgers, Cowboys, Ducks fan. Am I right?
Ugh.
Okay. So yeah. Unfortunately for the Cowboys, at least.
Oh yeah, unfortunately for
Unfortunately.
one of your teams.
No, 2 with the
I
Dodgers.
mean,
How are
yeah,
you?
yeah.
That is such a disgusting combination of teams, bro.
My
You got
dad.
2 teams
he's
that are
like-
trying to buy championships. I mean, congrats. It's better than Jody, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a family work for like the press for like the Dodgers or whatever, like 50 years ago or whatever. So it's kind of just gone down.
Okay, that is a
Canada.
more justifiable reason than most Dodger fans around here. So
Yeah, my dad's just like the Cowboys since the 80s. So it was either that or the Packers because my mom likes the
Yeah.
Packers. So
I mean, my dad liked the Niners, and that's why I like the
Yeah.
Niners. So I can't even
that's fair. That's fair.
I can't even talk trash about that. But yeah, that's quite a combination.
I mean, I hate playing the Niners. So I mean,
Garben says, "Sorry, Ducks are an amazing franchise." Well, the fact that you call them a franchise is all the proof we need. They're ran like a franchise. Freaking, what's the Nike guy? Why am I forgetting his name?
Phil Knight.
Phil Knight.
Phil Jackson.
Phil
Oh,
Jackson.
oh my God. Oh my God.
What?
Jeez. All right.
You don't, dude. He's bankrolling you guys to a championship, and you don't even know his name. That's
No, I don't know. I don't know why
Shameful.
Phil Jackson came to mind. I don't know
that
why Phil
is
Jackson came to mind.
shameful. Anyway, all right. Off to a great start with your call. What do you got
For
for
real.
us?
All right. How long, like realistically, do you guys think Chauncey has? Like, do you guys think he has till the end of the year? Because, like, at the end of last season, of course, like he got boos from fans, and of course, like this season now he's got boos. And last game, I heard people trying to start a fire Chauncey chant.
Yeah.
So like,
People do try to start that chant. End of the year, right, Eric?
Yeah, I always thought end of the year, if he does have a few more losses like the Utah game, just getting completely destroyed. And I think the more those kind of effort issues and just flat out disgust of our performance, like those games, I think add up. So at some point, I think they realize they can't wait till the end of the season. But for now, yeah, I think it's still probably they just let him coach out the year.
yeah, unfortunately though, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. He's so tragic as a coach.
So tragic.
Well, like
Um,
he like benches Aiton, and then Aiton is just standing there in the back of the huddle the Jazz game, just
Yeah, you
picking
were
out
at
his
that
fingers.
game, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, picking out his fingers. I'm like, no wonder why you got benched. You're not even
Was
at
this
least putting effort in.
Yeah, be honest. Be honest. So, like, being there at the game, was his body language like obviously bad from the stands, or was it just like
Oh
tough
yeah,
to
no,
tell?
it's always terrible.
Yeah. Um,
Always
so
terrible.
he had the play where he didn't run back and then screamed
Oh
effing
yeah.
shit. I said the word, Dro. You can feel better about saying it earlier. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. With Chauncey, it's why would they fire him before the end of the season? He's going to help them lose
Yes.
games. He's going to help them tank. You don't have to like if they fire him, they have an interim coach, and what does that change? Probably nothing. So he's just a lame duck coach, and
Yeah.
if they get rid of the vets, I think it's actually like easier to withstand Chauncey until the end of the year. I think the problem is you have a lame duck coach with lame duck players, and those are Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, maybe Anthony Simons as well. So it's all about moving off those guys so you can go with the young players, and then I think Chauncey would be a little bit less infuriating, and they could wait it out till the end of the year. So I think that's ultimately their plan.
Yeah, it's just like he's just like not even developing, it seems like Sharp doesn't seem much better than last year, and like Scoot looks better, but like I don't know. He doesn't look a whole lot better. Like I guess his body movement, he's like playing
Yeah.
slower, but
Yeah.
See,
Go
that's
ahead,
just
Eric.
the unfortunate part.
this goes back to the ownership conversation we just had with Dro. Okay, the Blazers. Could any of us foresee a situation? I mean, it's the Blazers, so maybe we could, but where Chauncey like became a good coach this year and like we signed him to an extension and he was our long-term coach. Like not even the Blazers are interested in discussing him being the coach after this year, right? So it became a thing where they know he's a lame duck coach. Everyone knows that. And they still didn't want to fire him last offseason because they didn't want to pay him and another coach, even though they're not even paying him that much. And so, like, this just goes back to ownership not doing what it takes to actually get this team on the right track. And so I feel like this whole situation could have been avoided knowing that he was a lame duck coach and we weren't going to keep him past this year. And so, I mean, at this point, what if they did? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think anyone would be happy with that, short of maybe Danny Meringue, right? Um, but
Jeez.
like, so we all know he's gone, but they're going to keep him till the end of the season or for a while still, and it just seems like the only reason is so they don't have to pay someone else, right? So that just, I mean, like you don't want to pay a bunch of coaches, but at the same time, like this is not working, guys. Like, come on, like let's do something different. And that's part of the reason I think people are have an issue or boo, at the end of the game last time. It's like this is not getting under any better under him. Why are we still running it out there?
Yeah.
Facts though. Like yeah, it's getting bad for real. Like people are just not showing up to games. Like you can see just sections where there's like very few fans.
Yeah. It's starting to look like FanFest used to look like. It's kind of
Oh yeah.
funny, in a bad way. But anyway, man, I appreciate you
Yeah, thank
calling in.
you. You know, have a good
Thank
one.
you, Michael. Have a good night.
You too, man. See ya.
Sorry your Dodgers didn't get Juan Soto on top of everyone else.
I know. Yeah. I mean, poor guy didn't get Juan Soto on top of. Yeah, that's crazy. All right. And the final caller of the night, we got our guy, Johnny. I think DeRosa is how to say the last name. Sorry if I mispronounced it. But we'll invite
This
you.
ought to be interesting.
Yeah, got an invite to the stage. Accept it if you want to call in. Otherwise, it's all good. I know Gyro was saying he was having trouble with the call in. He just wanted to ask if we still think Grant is worth even a decent first. I think he's worth a top 10 protected first from a playoff team. I think that's probably the most I can realistically hope for right now. So, would you agree with that, Eric?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
All
I
right.
don't think the protections really matter if it's a playoff team because they're obviously going to make the playoffs. But
Yeah, yeah.
Hello?
Johnny, what's up, man? You finally there we go.
Um, not
Johnny,
much.
let's go. What's up, man? Excited you called
Not
in.
much, man. Yeah, just wanted to tell you guys I was a real person, not a crazy robot dude. But yeah.
We luckily don't get
Uh,
robots in our chat too much anymore, so but YouTube has fixed that. Twitter went the other way. Now there's bots all over that place, but YouTube's a lot better with that now. So
I just wanted to know what made you guys become 49ers fans and not Seahawks fans?
See, so yeah, my dad was a Niner fan. My dad was a Niner and a Yankee fan, and I kept one of them. I kept the Niners. I did not keep the Yankee fandom. I'm a Mariners fan, so kind of took an L there. But that's the only reason, was just because I grew up watching football, watching the Niners with my dad. So, Eric, what about you?
I'm from Portland. Portland is not Seattle. We're two different places. I don't have to be a Seattle fan just because it's the only Northwest team. No, I'm not mad at you, Johnny. But, anyways, back in the day, uh, Seattle was in the AFC. And so every week our local game was the 49er game in the 80s. Um, Jerry Rice is my favorite athlete of all time, and I grew to love the 49ers because of him and Joe Montana. And so, yeah, I grew up watching that team play, and so I've been a Niner fan my whole life. Got to see all of their Super Bowls. I mean, I was pretty little for the first one, but gotten to see all of them. And yeah, but it's been, what now, 30 plus years since they won their last Super Bowl, so it's been a while. We'll see what happens. But anyways, stuck with them through some bad times and all that. But yeah, just grew up watching Montana and Rice. They're my favorite players when I was little. So yeah.
I will say, if Portland got an NFL team, I would definitely root for them. I'd probably be a Niner fan on top of that, but I would definitely be a fan of a Portland
You
NFL
guys
team.
almost got the Oakland A's up there, but didn't work out. They went to Vegas
Yeah,
instead.
I would be quicker to move off my Mariner fandom than off of my Niner fandom, just because the Mariners are super frustrating. So I'm still hopeful that they'll find a way to get an MLB team. It just feels like they're spinning their tires in mud right now with that. So I don't think it'll happen anytime in the next decade or anything, but we can hope.
Yeah, I think they should actually expand to a Vancouver Grizzlies team over Seattle because it's West Canada. I think West Canada needs a team more than Seattle because I think Portland takes the fan base of Seattle. But yeah, that's just my opinion, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of Sonics fans are actually not fans of the Blazers. I think Portland, when they hired Calabro, tried to corner that market. They went to Root Sports that had coverage and all across the Northwest, and they were trying to corner that regional that regional market. I don't think they really succeeded with that, but I think Seattle's obviously going to get a team, and I feel like they deserve a team just because theirs got stolen from them in a way that shouldn't have happened. But it would be cool to also have a Vancouver team on top of that. Like, they're going to go to Vegas because that's where all the money is, but I do think it would be one of the cities that should be up there in terms of expansion is Vancouver. It would be super cool to have like 3 teams up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, what made me a Blazers fan back then was because I disliked LA, so I just wanted any team, whether it was the Sacramento Kings or the Portland Trail Blazers, to beat LA. Yeah.
Where are you from? If you mind me asking.
So, originally from Fresno, but yeah, I'm in
Gotcha.
it's Vacaville. It's like West Sac.
Gotcha.
So you got to fail with two organizations trying to beat the Lakers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's late '90s stuff, '96 to 2003, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the what was that? The 2002 Western Conference Finals was rigged? Was it 2002?
Well, yeah, I mean, any big market team is gonna, of course, have the refs more, rig the game more because it's big market teams. for just small market teams, I'd rather have small market teams win, but it's hard for small market teams. Other than the San Antonio Spurs, they were small market, but they had Texas soil money to help too. But they were a small market team, so yeah, I do like the San Antonio Spurs too. But they're kind of done now. So I mean, Wembanyama's there, but they're not what they were. With Duncan Robinson, Tony Parker, Ginobili.
At least they recovered faster than the Patriots. I kind of looked at the Spurs and the Patriots in the same vein. Just storied franchises, won a lot of championships, and San Antonio got lucky, got Wemby, and now they're 500 right now, and New England still sucks. So it's always interesting to see those dynasties finally fall off and then see how they bounce back. It's going to be interesting to see how the Warriors bounce back without Steph Curry. It's going to be interesting to see the Chiefs after Patrick Mahomes, just because it's, the teams seem completely different when they're on bottom compared to when they're on top. And, the Bills right now, for an NFL reference, they were kind of the laughing stock when I was growing up. They were always awful, and now it's just perennial division winners and really respected. So hopefully Portland can be one of those teams that completely changes the perception about them and gets back up there. But it's going to take
the last time the Bills were even in the Super Bowl was 91, 92, 93. Yeah. They lost to the Cowboys. So yeah.
Anyway, Johnny, good to hear from you, man. Good to talk to you. Good to officially meet you. Appreciate you calling.
Bye, Johnny.
Not a crazy robot.
Thanks for being supportive of the channel.
Yep. Thank you, man. All right. That gonna conclude our call-ins. Shout out to Johnny. What are we gonna do next? We got a couple things we still gotta do. Let's take a look at standings, and then we'll take a look at something that I'm announcing, all right? Because I've been teasing that, all right? But first, NBA standings. Starting off with the Eastern Conference, then we'll take a look at the West. The Charlotte Hornets in 13th place at 77-17, Eric. They're obviously 7-17. As you can tell, I rush when I make these graphics because I make them during the game. But you got Cleveland still at number 1 in the East. Boston number 2. Those two teams, I think, are going to finish 1 and 2. Orlando lost Franz Wagner to a torn oblique. Same injury that they lost Paulo Banchero to. That's rough. They just beat the Suns, though, and Jalen Suggs went off, had 26 points. My guy, it's time for him to break out offensively without Wagner and without Paulo Banchero there. Orlando's been impressive considering the injuries to those guys.
You know who is really good?
Who?
The Charlotte Hornets, apparently.
The 77-17?
Yeah.
You didn't hear me reference that?
I'm just in awe.
Yeah. It's quite a record, man. They were so good, they scheduled them for 12 extra games. So, yeah. But Orlando looking good. You got New York at 4, Miami at 5, Milwaukee at 6. They're above 500. That's good to see. Good to see them on the left side of this graphic. Good to see Dame and his team actually doing something. I still don't understand why they drafted A.J. Johnson. I still don't know how they're going to actually get to contention because I don't think they're there. But when you have two players that talented, anything can happen, I guess is what they're going to bank on. Atlanta at 7, Brooklyn at 8. Indiana has been struggling. They're 10-15. They lost today to the Hornets. One of the Hornets' 77 wins. And they're in a 3-way tie with Chicago in Detroit. So we'll see if Indiana can turn it around with Siakam for a full season. I really thought they were going to take off this year. I forget where I predicted them, but I believe it was top 4 in the East. And they just have not looked good. You good?
Yeah.
Getting quiet. All right. Quiet Eric hours.
So Brendan asked what we're gonna do for Pips against the spread this week, and I saw there's only one game tomorrow.
Yeah. So the plan is if there's spreads for Tuesday and Wednesday, which are NBA Cup games, then we'll pick those as well tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, that's the plan. Obviously, some players will be questionable, but there's always questionable players when we're picking anyway. So
yeah,
I'll just lump those in. That is the plan. On Thursday, 3 games isn't. We could always move it to Friday. Maybe we will move it to Friday and have a 3-day break from streaming. We'll see. We'll let you guys know. Anyway, let's take a look at the West. The Portland Trail Blazers in 13th at 8-16. They're kind of on their own in the West. They're 2.5 back of Sacramento, and they're 2.5 ahead of Utah. You got Memphis has climbed all the way up to 2, and Dallas has been climbing recently. Dallas has been winning a ton of games. Are they on an 8-game winning streak? Yeah, let me look here. Yeah, Dallas has won 7 in a row. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games. So following up their NBA Finals appearance, they got off to a slow start, but now they look like the same team as last year. Memphis has dealt with injuries and still looks like one of the best teams in the West. They're only 2 games back of OKC. I think it's time to take the Grizzlies seriously again. I didn't think that they were going to be back to top 2 or 3 seed in the West, but here they are. You got Houston at 4, Golden State at 5. Golden State got off to that super hot start, struggled, now won a couple games in a row, so still don't know exactly what they are. This Western Conference standings picture is just a complete mess, and I feel like 2 through 10 can shake up in any order. You only got 4 games separating those, 9 spots? So,
yeah.
And Phoenix, when they're healthy, has looked really good, but they haven't been healthy. Of course, you got Minnesota. The Lakers with the win tonight move up into 8th place. They're 5.5 back. They're 13-11. Denver. Nikola Jokic has been playing insane, but they've been losing. They lost to the Wizards. The Wizards were 2-18. Jokic drops a career-high 56 points, almost gets a triple-double, and they lost to the 2-18 Wizards. So, lot of interesting teams, man. This is the fun part of following the NBA is I think you got a lot of teams with a lot of storylines in the Western Conference this year, and I don't know what to make of most of them.
Willis Dallas says this is updated for today.
No, this is updated. I copied ESPN's standings.
Or just Houston, maybe, is it?
I don't know. I copied NBA's standings, man. Houston 16-8. Yeah, so Houston is 16-8. Dallas 16-8. So, anyway.
Yeah. Biggest surprise to me has been Minnesota. They continue to be unimpressive.
I told you Randall, man. Randall's not a winning player. I am not impressed with Julius. It's not looking good there. I don't think he fits as well next to Gobert as Cat. Let's also take a look at the schedule one more time. Our next stream is Friday, so we literally have 4 days off until the Blazers play host to the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama will head into town, so if you've ever wanted to watch him play, then that's the game for you. Also, we'll have a members' night. We'll also announce a couple fun things for our members on that night. So if you're not a channel member, click the join button below. And then Sunday, December 15th against the Suns. I believe those times are wrong because they were just recently scheduled. But you got Denver, San Antonio, Dallas, and Utah coming up on the schedule for the Blazers. They only have 5 games between now and Christmas. Alrighty, we'll take questions for a couple of minutes, and then we'll do our announcement, and then we'll wrap up the stream. Taylor says 4 days off. Man, WTF. It's because of the NBA Cup. So we knew we were only going to get 2 games in like an 11-day span here. Actually been looking forward to it. It's always nice to get a break every once in a while and slow the games down a little bit. So looking forward to that. Would it be a travesty if Chauncey picks up his option? Well, it's a organizational option, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's Portland's.
All right. I don't know what Eric's focused on. It's not the stream. Oh, we can just ban anybody doing that. Whatever is going on in chat, Eric.
No, I don't want to ban this person.
I don't know who you're arguing with, but yeah, I mean, why we should not be talking about that person at all. Colonel Pancake says you're not allowed to take breaks. Yeah, I was confused because I hear you typing, not saying much. I'm like, something's going on in chat. Wasn't really paying attention to chat. Chill with the whoever's bringing up that person. Anyway. Wes Davison says, did I miss Tankathon earlier? Yes, you did.
We got fourth.
Yeah, we got fourth. We moved up. That was good. Blazers are one game back of fourth best odds. Right now they have seventh best odds, so that's also a good thing as they continue to lose. Schedule is tough coming up.
Hopefully we get those spreads for the cup games, so it'd be cool to pick all those.
Yeah, that was my thought, man, is those games should be fun. You have, you got Houston in it, you got Golden State in it. Who are the other two teams? I don't remember.
Well, it's OKC, right?
Yeah, OKC is one of them, and Dallas or Memphis?
Dallas is playing at OKC, Golden State at Houston. And then in the East, it's Orlando at Milwaukee. Milwaukee catches a huge break there with Orlando missing both their forwards.
Yeah.
And then Atlanta at New York.
Oh,
Trae
yeah,
Young
Atlanta.
going to the Garden.
That's a good storyline, man, because you know how they feel about Trae Young.
Yep, and the winners of those games will play next week in Vegas.
Yep. It's nice having like Houston and Atlanta and Orlando in there, some younger teams to mix it up. I think that was kind of the point of the NBA Cup is you could highlight some younger teams. Of course, Indiana made the finals last year, and that was like a part of their ascension to a legitimate playoff team. Anyway, we're not going to keep having that conversation. Elizabeth Allen says, Locked On Heat podcast guys were on the NBA Daily podcast this summer multiple times and think the Heat are great and that they were just going to get Julius for nothing. I listen to that while I work out, and it's like a 15-minute show. There's always those teams that think they're going to get a good player for next to nothing, and I don't know. Julius Randle has always been overrated to me, and I did not think that was a good trade for Minnesota. It was obviously a financially motivated trade that so far hasn't worked out. They still got time to turn it around. Dallas started slow too, and they've turned around, so maybe Minnesota can do the same. I just do not like that fit, and I do not like that player, especially given his struggles in the playoffs. Anyway, got one announcement for you guys, something pretty cool. Been working on over the past month. We are launching our next line of merchandise. All right, our next line of merchandise. This merchandise I worked on with somebody named Krish to come up with these designs that you see on the screen that you'll be able to buy and support the channel. It's Rose City inspired, and the links will be live in the next couple of days. If you want to pre-order, I'll give you 10% off. Just email me, blazersuprise@gmail.com, or you can message me on Twitter or message me on Discord. Otherwise, the links will be live in a couple of days. You'll be able to go below the YouTube video and buy merch. Right now you can see kind of some basic merch down there, but we got some fresh designs coming up. Wanted to create something that was just a good apparel piece, something that, just looks good. And I'm really happy with how this design came out because I've been conceptualizing it for a while. So we got beanies, we got hats, we got hoodies, and we got t-shirts that are launching for our winter merch collection. Our goal is to do this once a season, so 4 times a year, do something in the spring, come up with something different, something cool. So those links will be going live this week. Let me know if you want to pre-order. I'll give you a discount. And I'm very excited for him, man. Very excited for him. We'll get Eric hooked up with some stuff. I'll get hooked up with some stuff. We got some cool Uprise merch launching. What's the material of the design? Is it screen printed on the shirt? It's just DTG, so it's just direct to garment printing. Garbin says that's not bad. I'm seriously a merch collector. I have to say, pretty nice. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's just wanted to create something that wasn't just our logo slapped on something. Wanted to put some effort into something. So, yeah, very, very excited to launch this stuff. So, it's a great way to support the channel is buying some merch. So let me know. Otherwise, just hang tight. Those links will be coming up. You can also buy them as a gift if you want to for Christmas. Anyway. What do you think of the merch, Eric? What do you think of this?
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm happy with the design. So, anyway, shout out to Krish for helping me cook that up. Basically, whenever I have a idea of something that I'm not fully confident myself to pull off with Photoshop, I always hit up Krish. Like, Krish, can you help me do this? And Krish has been awesome. Anything Aiton related? Asks Aiton Muse. Hell no. Number one, I can't sell his likeness. Okay, I tried to sell like Mello's likeness on some merch 5 years ago, and yeah, I have to have permission to sell his likeness, number one. Number two, why would I want to sell his likeness? Number three, why are you Aiton Muse, man? I think it's time to rebrand. I put Blazers in a small font, though, above the Uprise. You want the whole name in there, especially the Blazers part. You can buy merch with our logo on it if you want, I just thought it was cool. Cool to just go with the Uprise. Anyway, that is our merch.
Nice, we finally have some.
Yeah. Well, we have stuff beneath the video that people can buy if they want with our logo on it. So we got a hat and stuff. Don't plug it much, but we'll start plugging it a lot more. We did giveaways in the past, so if you won something through that giveaway, I'll be in contact. If you won some merch or merch credit or whatever. And I think that's everything we had to get through today. We'll be live again tomorrow, picks against the spread. Hopefully we have more than one game to pick. Otherwise, I don't even know what we do. We pick Monday Night Football too. Nah, just kidding. That would mess up my roll. I've been on a roll. I'm 12-2 recently.
Nice.
Also, I just want to see if I can no-look this shot, Eric. We got the Nerf hoop back there. Can I no-look this shot? This is around the horn inspired, kind of.
Wait, where's the hoop? On the door?
Yeah, it's on the door. You see it?
Can't see it in the... Okay, now I can see it.
Yeah, now you can see it. So... Can I no look it? I'm going to do this to end every stream until I make it, okay? I might knock over the Christmas tree, but we're going to try our best here. All right. Missed. Bummer. We tried. That is the new hat flip because I guess I have a side table behind me that I could flip my hat onto, but anyway. That's a wrap for this edition of the Blazers Uprise post-game show. Once again, if you want to get on the action with BetUS, use promo code YouTube150. 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit. 125% bonuses on your next two deposits up to $2,000. Get in on the NFL. Get in on NBA. Get in on college basketball. We'll be releasing our big boards, our second editions of our big boards coming up soon. And if you want to get invested in college basketball, placing a small little wager on it is a great way to get yourself emotionally invested in a game while you're scouting a prospect. It's a fun way to create some intrigue and, always bet responsibly, but have some fun with sports. They got overseas basketball as well, college basketball, NBA, NFL. Fun way to get in on the action is BetUS, promo code YouTube150. We'll be live again tomorrow on our second channel, link in the description box below. Join our Discord, that link is down there as well. And then we'll be live on either Thursday or Friday on our second channel. Next post-game show is on Friday. So we got a whole week until, a whole work week until our next post-game show on Friday night. Anything else, Eric?
Thank you, Zach, for coming in last minute and telling us that. I appreciate it. Everyone have a good night. If we don't see you till Friday night, hope you have a good week. But yeah. Ugh.
What?
Nothing.
All right, guys.
Now people are obsessed with our hairlines.
Well, people always comment on hair, which is very weird. And If anybody has anything mean to say about either of our appearances, you get timed out for a long time, and if you do it repeatedly, you get banned. There's just no reason for it.
Hair, but I don't have a bad hairline. Everyone thinks I do for some reason.
Yeah. Put your face on screen if you're going to comment on ours. How about that? There's always the people on Twitter that talk trash. They're always anonymous. So, anyway. Gabe says, be glad you have a hairline. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, man. We're not models, believe it or not. Anyway, we're out of here. Shout out to BetUS. We'll catch you guys with another postgame show on Friday. Check out the second channel for a couple streams between now and then. With that being said, until next time.